Bam, bam. There we go. Welcome back to another edition of the Blue Review. Oh gosh, I slid on the screen, but I just left the Blue Review logo on.
Nobody saw it. Nobody saw the slide.
Oh no. Oh man, hey, that's how your Mondays get
It's a
started. But you
Monday,
know what?
man.
Welcome back. The Olympics are over. We're now focused on strictly Dodgers baseball. It was a great weekend for the Dodgers as they get the sweep. Flaherty looked good in his home debut. We got a lot to talk about. Matt Kemp Day was a success. Shout out to Teoscar for yet another heroic moment. Teoscar, man, where would the Dodgers be without him? And then, of course, Mookie is back. So a lot to get into, Marcus. And I will just toss it to you shortly before I remind everyone that our friends at LAX are sponsoring the Blue Review. So shout out to Los Angeles International Airport for just changing the travel experience, reducing traffic, saving guests time. I know that you were at LAX not too long ago. You had
I
a really
was.
cool event recently. Kind of
Yeah,
want to hear
I
a little bit
was.
about that.
I was in Canton, Ohio, this past weekend for the Fantasy Football Expo. It's been going on for about 5-6 years now. It's become a really, really big thing. I call it Fantasy Football Coachella sort of deal. But it's a good time, and I did experience LAX. It was very easy. I am also fortunate if I finally broke down and signed up for TSA pre-check. The whole thing was smooth. It was great. Got in and out. I will also say that it's hard being a West Coast sports fan in the Eastern time zone. When things are firing up at like 10:30 at night, it's a little hard. But I was definitely keeping up with the Dodgers while I was out there. It was great to see the sweep this weekend. I know all the festivities, Matt Kemp Day. They had Koufax night a couple of nights ago, so a lot of really cool things, and more importantly, a sweep of the Pirates. That's probably the headline right there. I think more than anything.
Yeah, they get the sweep, they get it done, and while everyone has been looking over their shoulder, so worried about that NL West race, and rightfully so, as no team is really hotter than both the Padres and the Diamondbacks. On the other end, the Dodgers is it tied? I haven't checked the updated standings. I'll have to myself.
They are tied. Both teams 69 and 49. So the Dodgers and Phillies are in a dead heat for the best record in the National League.
Look at that. Look at that, guys. And shout out to the chat as well for being here on a Monday morning. I see you all already being interactive. So send us some questions if you have any. We'll be sure to get to those today. As you can tell, Greg is not here today, so it'll be just me and Marcus getting into all this. So shout out to Greg. He'll be back tomorrow, of course, from 9:30 to 9:55 as always. But let's get right into this, Marcus. Dodgers, we could start from the beginning, the 9-5 win on, I believe that was the Koufax night. Flaherty's 10 strikeout game, and Shohei went deep. So a great game on that one. What did you see from Flaherty's home debut?
Look, there were times where it was a little bit rocky. I mean, he had a lot of traffic on the bases, but I think the thing we have seen from him in 2 starts now is that he rises to the moment. I mean, we saw that in his first start on the road where, he was cruising along. Then that final inning he pitched, ran into some problems, but was able to work his way out of it in a big spot. And I think we saw a lot of that on Friday night where there were guys all over the bases, right? The Pirates had 11 hits in that game. Flaherty was sort of always dealing with traffic, but did a great job of keeping them down and getting a 6-run lead, getting spotted a 6-run lead fairly early in that game makes it a little better. But I really do think he has shown through 2 starts that he is really ready to step up and be a big part of this rotation in the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, I loved what I saw. Like you said, there was a lot of action on the base paths for the Pirates, but the fact that he was able to still take out 10 and go deep, I think that's what we knew we were getting out of Flaherty. And if he can do that consistently, that's all you can ask for. Again, that was an important game because I think the Dodgers' lead over the Padres was at that point 2.5.
Yeah.
So they knew what was going on behind them, and they were definitely very aware of it. And to see the team just step up, the offense stepped up. Shohei came up big that game. I think was huge. And you look at the rest of the weekend, the offense just continued to do their thing against Paul Skeens on Saturday. Yeah. You saw, or whatever the day was, but the second game of the series, you saw Gavin Lux driving 3.
Continues to be one of the best hitters on the team. I mean, like on a team with Shohei Ohtani and Freddie Freeman and Mookie Betts coming back, like Gavin Lux has been a big catalyst of the offense. I mean, and not just hitting singles, but getting extra base hits, really, starting rallies, continuing rallies. Like I'm at a point now where early in the year, Gavin Lux came to the plate, and I was like, that's probably going to be a rally killer. Now Gavin Lux comes to the plate, and I'm like, something's going to happen here. Like,
Yeah.
we're going to get some action, and he's been amazing at that since just before the All-Star break, but certainly since the All-Star break, he's been great.
Yeah, I know Greg threw out some numbers last week, and you're just looking at like his last 30 games, and this was on that day when I was looking at the numbers. He was hitting well over 300, 310 with a nearly 400 OBP, and that's the big thing. He's getting on base. Greg stressed this. He's getting on base. And when he's up there, I noticed like such a change in his approach. I know there's a story that came out about how he left to kind of go talk with his uncle during the All-Star break, who I think was his hitting coach for a long time, and they were just like, you need to really get over this mental hump where it's the knee that was bothering him, and now he's just kind of swinging with reckless abandon, and it's worked for him. I think he was fed up with the fact that like his lack of power was there, due to that knee, and then once he really got over that hump of just, hey, if I'm just making contact, kind of not necessarily getting back to that 2022 form where he was almost just a slasher, but he's swinging way harder, and it's been working for him. As you can see, he deserves all the praise he's getting right now.
Yeah, absolutely. No, and I think early on it was a situation where he was more like, I just want to put the ball in play. He's like, I'm just trying to not swing and miss. I'm just trying to put the ball in play. And more often than that, it was almost like, you play not to lose instead of playing to win. And I think he was sort of hitting not to lose. And now he's gotten to a point where I don't think he's as bothered by the swings and misses, but in a way that's sort of freed him up to be more comfortable, because now he's finding pitches, he's driving pitches, he's getting extra base hits. And so, because I think I saw that his swing and miss rate is actually well above what it was at the start of the season, but the results have been better because I think he's just sort of said, F it. I'm just going to go out there and just try to drive the ball, and it's working for him.
Yeah, it seems that that's the best way to recover from such like a scary injury, is just approach that effort mentality.
Yeah.
And we're seeing it work in live time. And then you look at yesterday's game, huge walk-off win, of course, by Teoscar, but everything else that you saw, before we do that, let's get into the River Ryan situation. Actually, I kind of glossed over that.
Yeah, we should, because that was Saturday, right?
Yeah. So UCL strain. We have been told that he is done for the season. After throwing that slider, you saw his grimace and the discomfort, and it was said that he had some forearm tightness before that, and he still tried to pitch through it, and unfortunately, got hurt. And the Dodgers bug just continues to strike. I don't really know how to react to it outside of it's just like, what the heck?
Yeah, I mean, it's just kind of a what the heck. It just seems to keep happening, and it's definitely unfortunate it happens to a young guy who was, really starting to kind of come into his own. I don't think the Dodgers had planned for him to be in the major leagues this year, but because of so many injuries elsewhere on the pitching staff, he was kind of forced into that situation. But what we saw of him was certainly very encouraging. Now, unfortunately, he's out for the year. We'll see how serious it is. Hopefully, fingers crossed, it's something that does not need surgery and it's just sort of rest and rehab throughout the offseason. Obviously, we hear forearm tightness, you hear elbow injury, and everybody's mind immediately goes to Tommy John surgery. So hopefully that's a thing that can be avoided, but we will find out. In the meantime, it's Landon Knack who steps in there and comes back to the team. And look, we saw some good starts out of Landon Knack. So we'll see what sort of he offers now that he's back up. I would say if there's a silver lining, again, it's guys are getting healthy. Walker Buehler is going to be back. We'll see what Walker Buehler has to offer now that he's back. Yamamoto is slowly progressing his way back. So there are reasons to be optimistic. Hey, look, maybe Bruce Starr comes back too. I mean, he's not going to start, but that's just another arm that's available to them. So it's unfortunate. It definitely sucks for River Ryan and for the Dodgers, but there are, I think, other ways to sort of fill some of those innings now.
Yeah, and you're kind of looking at the bullpen from this weekend, and honestly, they looked fine, and I understand it's against the Pirates, but the Pirates aren't, they aren't
terrible.
Just terrible. that whole NL Central over there has been playing pretty well this whole season. So to the fact that you saw the bullpen kind of handle business, I know that yesterday specifically they were needed. Glasnow looked good, only allowing 2 runs on 5 hits over 7 innings. And then that's when things got a little shaky, but you're looking at the squad, and to your point, there's ways to really supplement these injuries. They've been doing it all season. I get that it's been kind of doom and gloom a lot of this season, but as we said at the beginning of the episode, they're still tied for the number one seed.
Yeah.
And I get that that's scary to see bullpen concerns, but they're fighting through it. And if anyone's going to fight through it at this time of the season, if it is the Dodgers, that's a great sign. I think heading towards the playoffs. But Glasnow, sticking on him from yesterday, real quickly.
Mhm.
What did you see from that? I know Kutch, man, he's one
McCutcheon
of my
was,
favorite players.
yeah, man. I mean, he had himself a day, right? A couple of home runs, had 4 RBIs. I mean, he absolutely had a day. But other than that, I mean, I thought it was a pretty good Glasnow start. And the most important number to me was 7, that he got 7
Yep.
innings, because it has been a struggle to get the Dodgers starters really through 5. So getting 7 innings out of him was great. The bullpen, yeah, but Bonda gave him a couple of runs, and I'm sort of willing to kind of give him a pass. We'll see, what the next few outings are like for him, but he's been such a workhorse in this bullpen. And generally speaking, Bonda has come out and pitched well in tough situations. Yesterday was not a good outing for him, but they were able to at least, sort of keep things together a little bit and then get it to the 10th when you get your heroics, right? You get the Hernandez guys getting it going, right? Like Kike drives in the tying run. Then a couple of hitters later, it's Teoscar who drives in the winning run. So yeah, I mean, Glasnow looked good. The pitching staff was good enough. The offense sort of saves their bacon at the end, which, by the way, I mean, at some point we got to talk about extending Teoscar Hernandez.
Please.
Right? Like, he's done more than enough to earn a contract extension here. Like, the front office has to get that done.
Yes, and this is not just on behalf of the Blue Review. This is on behalf of every Dodgers fan out there.
Every Dodger fan, yes.
The feeling is the same. Extend Teo. We need it now. That would just hit differently. Yeah. But yesterday, yeah, you mentioned it. Just the heroics. I think that is a great sign. I know everyone wanted Shohei to be the one, but that's what we got guys like Teoscar for, and that's what we're going to have guys like Muncy for. These guys who have done it before in the past, and they continue to do so. It's big. I know Kike came up with that big hit right before that as well. So we're seeing guys come up big in moments where maybe we wouldn't have seen it earlier in the season, that bottom half of the lineup. So very promising on that end. But we were talking about Lux earlier and his great performance. So because of his great performance, there's been some interesting discussions around the team about where Mookie will go when he comes back. And honestly, Lux has become the second baseman. He's not leaving the lineup.
Yeah, right.
So that leaves, okay, is defense more important? How are we going to handle this? And it started out earlier in the week. Mookie will come back. He'll probably play short and go back to the first part of the lineup leading off. And then all of a sudden it was shortstop, but second in the lineup, keep Shohei there, split the lefties, Shohei and Freddie. And then it became, nah, you're going back to right. This is what's best for the team. What were just your initial reactions on that? Like seeing him go back in the outfield, seeing how he reacted to it, just all that conversation in general.
Yeah, I mean, look, to Mookie's credit, right? I mean, he has been very adamant about, like, whatever they need me to do, I'm here to do it. I'm going to hit. If they want me to hit second, then I will hit second. If they want me to play right field, shortstop, wherever, I'm going to do what I can to help the ball club. And I think it's amazing sort of how the conversation has changed in a relatively short amount of time. I mean, when Mookie went down, it was like, all right, well, when he gets healthy, he's going to come back. He's going to play shortstop. Maybe he plays second base because Gavin Lux was still struggling at the time. The idea of the outfield wasn't really a conversation, I think, besides just the fans. But now, as you mentioned, Gavin Lux has cemented his spot, right? Like, he's not going anywhere with the way he's been hitting. Now you have kind of an embarrassment of riches at shortstop when you've got Miguel Rojas, who's healthy. You're going to have Tommy Edman back sometime in the very near future as well. He can play that position. Kike is playing well enough. I mean, in a pinch, Kike can give you innings over at shortstop if you really needed him to. So now they have way too many guys who could possibly. Oh, I forgot. Nick Ahmed is still there who can play shortstop for you if you need to as well. And so now you do sort of, okay, well, so we can't not have Mookie in the lineup. So the outfield obviously is the best option for him. It does sort of lock you in because then that means Mookie's in right field, Teoscar is in left, and it just becomes a question of who you play at center. Is it Andy Pajes every day? Is it Kevin Kiermaier occasionally, who still can play defense? He doesn't really offer much at the plate, but I mean, I guess the good news is they're starting to sort of lock into what this lineup can be, right? If we know you got two of the three outfield spots locked up, you've got, certainly the right side of the infield locked up with Freddie and Gavin Lux. When Max Muncy comes back, he takes over at third. Will Smith's going to be behind the plate. So now suddenly your lineup, your defensive alignment is mostly locked in, save for a couple of spots. So I guess that's good, sort of having that peace of mind heading into the last month or two of the season.
Yeah, I was just going to say the same thing. If you're heading into September and you have basically the lineup and the 3 or 4 guys who are going to cycle in just consistently already locked in, uh, that's huge. That's huge because what a team needs going into the playoffs is consistency. And we saw that, the last couple years, a lot of it was like bullpen inconsistency and things like that and just not hitting, but consistency is huge. So I totally agree with you. You see that locked in heading into these last couple months is going to be massive. And just what do you expect, honestly, from Mookie in his first series back? I mean, are we going to be seeing the bat straight again, straight to it, or do you think it's going to be a couple weeks of ramp up?
Yeah, it would be amazing if he just jumped right back in and was.
It is Mookie.
It's Mookie, right? So it's certainly not impossible to think that. I mean, I think realistically, it may take him a couple, 3 games or whatever to get his timing back. Baseball is a timing sport, especially when you talk about hitting. And having been out for 2 months, like I expect that, the first few games might look a little bit rough, but I don't think it's going to take him long to get ramped up. It also helps hitting in that part of the lineup where you're going to be surrounded by Shohei Ohtani, Freddie Freeman. They're going to have to pitch to you, right? They're not going to try and pitch around you because they don't want to have to deal with, some of these other hitters with guys on base. So even if it's a little bit slow in the first few games, I don't think it's going to take long before we see Mookie back to that, MVP type performance he was giving us early in the year.
Yeah, that's huge. And a lot of the ramping up that he was doing was fielding. So it'll be interesting to see how much he was hitting and how much that form can get back and see how long it takes. I see the chat saying, give it a few weeks with the broken hand. It was a serious injury. But then again, like we mentioned just a minute ago, you never know with Mookie Betts.
You never know. You really don't.
He's a freak of nature.
I mean, look, the fact that we're talking about, he started the season in spring training at the second base. They moved him to shortstop. We're talking about moving him back to the outfield. But through it all, the bat never really faltered at any point.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he was having one of his best offensive seasons of his career despite trying to learn a couple of different new positions. So, yeah, I do think it's going to take some time for him to kind of get back to where he was. But, again, like you said, if anybody can do it, it's Mookie Betts. So,
yeah. So they got the Brewers. That's who they're going to be kind of ramping Mookie up with. And it's Kershaw Day. From the last time I checked, Kershaw against Freddie Peralta. So I think there's a lot to look forward to as we, continue to play the NL Central over there. If you got Kershaw on the mound, what did you see from his last performance? And then going into to today, what do you expect?
Yeah, no, the last one was good, right? And I know we talked about that with Doug McCain last week, the last time he pitched. And it was, I think, what you hope for out of this version of Clayton Kershaw. Now, look, this is a Milwaukee team that can score runs. Right? We talk about the Dodgers and Phillies being tied for the best record in the National League. Well, the Brewers are like a game and a half back in that. So, I mean, they are playing some really good baseball right now. So we'll see how he sort of gets through that batting order. But what we saw was encouraging. They made some tweaks to his mechanics. We'll see if that sort of thing sticks. Ideally, Kershaw gets you 5 innings. I mean, I think that's why it was big that you were able to get 7 out of Glasnow yesterday, even though they had to play 1 extra to kind of get it done.
Yeah.
But if you can get Kershaw through 5 and then the bullpen can sort of take it home the rest of the way, and then just having that lineup a little bit more intact, scoring some runs, stay hot, keep the winning streak going, get off to a quick start in Milwaukee, and then, fingers crossed that somebody else can take care of the Diamondbacks and Padres behind you for the next couple of days.
Yeah, that's all you can do is just win. And the fact that you're saying stay hot, and we're seeing guys like Shohei 7 for 42 in his last 10 games. Will Smith, I don't even know what to say. The Dodgers are still winning.
Yeah,
and you got 2 of, some of your best hitters not really performing at the level that we're used to seeing. So they could get hot at any minute as well. And then watch out league. So a lot to really look forward to as we're seeing Mookie return, as we're seeing guys start to get healthy again. Edman, we're going to get a new riff into the lineup.
Yeah.
Most likely, I think the 19th is the last thing Friedman said, that next
I
homestand.
believe it's the next homestand, but for him and
Muncy
Max
and
Muncy. So, yeah, I mean, like literally, help is on the. This is like it's like the portal scene, right? In Avengers Endgame, it's like a portal opens up and Mookie Betts shows up, and Max Muncy and Tommy Edman, and eventually Yamamoto. So it does feel like things are getting better. I know that we as Dodgers Nation sort of were. You're kind of holding our breath a little bit, watching this lead shrink and watching the Padres seemingly be invincible for the last couple of weeks. Now I think we can sort of, I won't say relax, but kind of maybe not grip the edge of our couches so tightly every single night, trying to figure out what's going on. So the lineup is getting stronger. The pitching, I think, is starting to come together a little bit. And at some point, the Padres and the Diamondbacks are going to cool off. It's just hard to think they stay this hot for the last 6 weeks of the season. So if the Dodgers can just start to play a little bit more consistent ball, win a little more consistently, then I think that gives them some breathing room and gets them closer to the division title.
Yeah. I mean, if the Diamondbacks and Padres follow the trend that literally every team has been following this year, you may get hot, but also there's some cold streaks as well.
Right.
Like we said, there's something going on in the air this MLB season where you haven't seen just a clear runaway favorite. So it'll be interesting following along. But I was curious. I wanted to ask you,
yes,
just as a Dodgers fan, yesterday I was sitting there watching the game and seeing what Matt Kemp meant to so many Dodgers fans. And growing up, he was one of my favorite players as well, simply because 27, Vladimir Guerrero was one of my favorite players, and I just started to like all guys who were number 27. And of course, his style of play really was just like something that stuck out to me. What did he mean to somebody like you, kind of being a Dodgers fan for so long?
Yeah, man. I mean, it was just great because he was, for better or worse, he was sort of the face of that team that just always seemed to have potential, but could never quite live up to it, right? But he was that guy that you sort of counted on, that you believed in when you came to the ballpark, or you turned them on every single night, because, he was one of those players that was a little bit of everything, right? I mean, a big, strong guy with great speed, good power, would give you some good defense. I remember particularly one game. I remember what year it was. It was Bryce Harper's rookie year. I was there for Bryce Harper's first major league hit at Dodger Stadium, which was a double that he blasted off the wall like dead center field. But I just remember that game ended in, I think, in the 10th inning on a Matt Kemp walk-off home run on, I think it was Matt Kemp bobblehead night even at that point. But I mean, that was sort of it. Like, he was that guy who just sort of helped lead the charge, and those teams never could quite get it done. But he was such a catalyst, and he was so fun to watch. So, I mean, I was glad to see him, get his flowers this weekend, to sign the one-day contract, retire as a Dodger, and just get all that love, because he absolutely deserves it.
Yeah, it was really cool to see all the legends there this last weekend. I mean, I saw everyone from Koufax, like you said, to Dusty Baker and to Kemp. I mean, really cool seeing the generational just Dodgers love throughout the stadium. And as somebody who didn't necessarily grow up following the Dodgers as much as everyone else, I think it was really cool. And it kind of taught me, oh, wow, just how storied this franchise is. Because everyone who was sitting on that field, I was like, wow, I used to love watching these guys play. Right. I used to love watching their highlights, even as a non-Dodgers fan. 100%. So that was really cool, man. That was really cool. And like we said, the Dodgers got the Brewers today. Keep an eye out. It's Kershaw Day. We hope to see another great experience, and of course Mookie Day as well. Yep. So when you got Kershaw and Mookie having a big day, that's always exciting as a Dodgers fan. So a lot of great stuff. We'll be back tomorrow 9:30 to 9:55. Marcus, I'll let you close us out as we get ready for Travis and Sliwa. But thank you for being in the chat and being active. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you guys for interacting. We are always grateful for that. And shout out to LAX for being a part of this Blue Review show. Of course, check it out tonight. We'll see Dodgers Brewers, start of a big series in Milwaukee, getting closer to full health for this team. And so we'll be back to react to that tomorrow. I'll let you know what we thought about Kershaw Day and Mookie's return. But stick around. Travis and Sliwa coming up for Parker. I am Marcus. We'll have Corporate Greg back tomorrow. This has been the Blue Review. Thank you, everybody. We'll see you then.